Well, unfortunately, this ATV has turned out to be a giant pile of garbage, and I've gotten really frustrated with this thing. I'll be honest with you, I hate this thing. I'm this close to selling it and getting rid of it. So, you probably remember I bought this ATV brand new in April of 2022, so it's almost 12 months old, and it's got about 700 miles on it. Okay, so a little less than a year old, 700 miles. And since day one, we've had nothing but trouble out of this thing. It has been, like I said, a complete piece of garbage. First thing that we noticed not long after we got it home is that the maintenance, just the general maintenance on this machine is difficult. I mean, the oil filter cover is way back in here, and you can't get to it without disassembling a lot of the body, which is just asinine. Like, why would you design something like that? The rear gear oil, I still haven't figured out how to do that. On my Suzuki, the drain and fill plugs are obvious. They're right there in front of you. You can't miss it. I have no idea how to even do this. I guess I'm going to have to get the owner's manual out and see if it helps any. Just the overall design and engineering and layout of this machine is just terrible compared to everything else that I've seen. You know, now for reference, I have personally had Honda, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Polaris, Can-Am, all of the major brands I have owned and ridden and have experience with. I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, this is just frustrating. And then over these last, 6, 8, 12 months, it's been constant problems. Um, Unfortunately, the plastics started cracking and breaking. You know, they broke up here. The floorboards down here completely crumbled and fell apart just doing normal trail riding. So I had to get these aftermarket steel floorboards to put back in it so that wouldn't happen again. It's just one thing after another. But anyway, the point of the video today is now we have probably the most severe issue that I've had yet with this thing, which is that now the entire brake system has failed on this machine. So we started noticing that it was leaking brake fluid, and we're like, what in the world's going on now? And once we started to tear into it, we noticed that the brake pads are completely gone. I mean, I've got them over there. They're like paper thin now. There's almost nothing left of the brake pads, and it's so bad that the pistons in the brake caliper have gotten into the back of the rotor, and it's completely eaten up. I mean, there's nothing hardly left of it here. You can't salvage this. I guess what we're going to do, since the rotor's not warped, I guess we're going to try and smooth it out a little bit, kind of turn the rotor ourselves. It's an off-road machine. It sees no highway use at all, obviously, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to stop the machine. So I guess we're going to try and polish that down and clean up the surface a little bit so I don't have to buy a rotor, but I am going to have to buy 2 brand new calipers because both sides did this. The brake pads were literally flopping around in there when I took the wheels off, and maybe you can see on the camera that, like I said, the calipers are totally trashed. The pistons are just eaten alive, and it's so bad that this is where the fluid was leaking from, was right in there. So complete brake failure on this machine in less than a year and less than 1,000 miles. I mean, it's just pitiful. I have seen 40-year-old Honda ATVs that still have the original brakes on them. There's just no excuse for the lack of engineering, the lack of quality control, the lack of everything that I've seen with this machine since I bought it. I mean, this thing was over $8,000 and it's just been junk. So anyway, now here we are 1 week away from my son's spring break. And we've been planning for a long time to take a camping trip and go riding next week. And now I have to hope that in this economy that I can source parts fast enough that I can try and get this thing back together so we don't ruin our trip. I'm telling you, it's just always something. And when I get this fixed, it'll be something else. Who knows what it'll be next week? Something else will break on this thing, I guarantee it. And we don't even ride these things hard. I mean, the stuff that I see other people doing at the off-road parks is way more aggressive than what we do. We don't do those really steep hill climbs and the rock gardens and all that. We don't do that stuff. We just ride trails, throw a little dirt around, hit some mud holes, just very really just casual riding on an ATV. And we've had all this carnage. So it's really frustrating. But anyway, I guess you can consider that a 1-year update on the Can-Am Outlander. At this point, my advice would be do not buy one of these things. Do not waste your hard-earned money on one of these things. Go somewhere else. I don't care. Go get an Arctic Cat or a Polaris, or really Honda and Suzuki have been the best bets for me as far as quality and engineering. I've seen, much, much better stuff come from Honda and Suzuki in recent years than the other brands. But I haven't really had a lot of trouble out of any of them other than this. So there will never be a Can-Am product of any kind in my garage ever again. I can promise you that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and order some parts now. Hopefully I can get them within the next couple of days. And as we start reassembling this thing, maybe I'll do a video on that and kind of show you what we've had to do here. The brake bleeding procedure can be a little bit complicated sometimes, but hopefully that will go okay. Something else that we had to do was the little cover on top of the master cylinder up there cracked and broke. So I had to order a billet aluminum one to replace that. But anyway, hopefully we can get them bled out, get this back together and get going again. Frustrating. So quick update there though. 1 year in, and I would never buy this machine again. Talk to you later, guys.